And it's so simple, like latch the baby or pump,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
either way, just
And
create the suction,
if
right?
you
Like,
just latch the baby, they're going to get frustrated. So that's why
right.
the feeding device helps. I mean, I guess some babies would latch for like comfort. The mine
Mhm.
like wants something to drink. So
Right.
I needed, like, I would try to latch him without the feeding device initially, and he would just get frustrated. So I would
Yeah.
have to put that in there along with at the breast and let him suction that way.
Hi, I'm Rachel, owner of the Natural Birth site, certified birth doula, childbirth educator, and midwife's assistant.
And I'm Tiffany Muniz, certified birth doula, lactation counselor, and midwife assistant.
Here, you'll learn all about different aspects of pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Remember, none of this information should take the place of your care provider and is not medical advice.
Birth is not a medical emergency.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, listeners, welcome to the Natural Birth Talk. I'm your host, Rachel.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we are here again with Ammie Harris. We've had her on a couple of times to share her birth stories and give us some tips and tricks. Today we are talking about relactation. So producing milk after drying up. This is like a super exciting topic. I can't wait.
So cool.
Before
we jump into it, though, we're going to let Ammie introduce herself.
Okay, thanks. Thank y'all so much for having me, Rachel and Tiffany. I am, and I'm always love talking with y'all on the podcast. I am Ammie Harris. Obviously, I'm a mama to 4. We live in Mississippi, and a small little homestead, which has grown quite a bit in the last few years. And I just love talking about birth. And this is a new one to talk about. I've shared a little bit about my relactation story on my other platform, my YouTube platform, but I haven't told the entire story. So I'm excited to share that today.
Yes, I'm so
We're
excited.
excited too. Yeah.
Yes. This is not a topic we've touched on at all, which I can't believe after how long this podcast has been around that we haven't touched on this yet. But what made me want to do this is, like Ammie said, she has a YouTube channel, which I will link in the description. And she was talking about her explant surgery. So when she had implants removed and how she had to stop lactating, she had to stop nursing her son to get the surgery and then relactate after she was healed. So, but Ammie's going to tell that in a much prettier way.
Okay. So I guess I'll start back at, I had originally planned to have this surgery when I had my daughter, and she was about 1. So this kind of goes back a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had dried up with her and to have this surgery. And when I stopped lactating, it threw my cycle off and I got pregnant again. So that surgery was canceled. So I was like, well, let me just try relactating with her. Well, she was already a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried the whole process, which I'll go through with y'all in just a minute. And it like the process worked, but by that point she was not interested because she had been weaned for 6 or 7 weeks and she was on solids. So she really wasn't interested in the whole relactation, which I'll explain the process. She was wiggly and kicking the tube, which I'll tell y'all about, and what I used. So I kind of didn't push forward with it with her. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, well, I know I can do it. I know I have the tools to do it. I know the process to do it. So I'll just redo this again when I have my son, my 4th baby. Mm-hmm. So I had the surgery. My doctor, some actually explant surgeons will let you like breastfeed through surgery, but my surgeon didn't want me to, just in case of milk being in the ducts and accidentally cutting a duct in the surgery, which is very uncommon. She didn't want an infection. So she asked me to drop for 6 weeks. Some surgeons ask you for 6 months. So it was one of the reasons. And my baby was only 4 months when I had the surgery. I could have waited until he was a year, but I knew I needed to go ahead and get the implants out for health.
Well, and you were probably worried when you dried up, you'd get pregnant again.
Exactly. That's kind of how it always has happened.
So, sorry, can I have a question really quick? Did you get the explants because you were having health issues?
Not severe. There's women that have really severe issues with implants. I more so just had really bad fatigue. I had bad digestion. I had some skin issues around the implant area, which are completely gone now, which is amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
I've seen a complete health change. Like, just mine were very mild. I know some women are almost bedridden from implants.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic. But
right.
yes, no, I wasn't severely like health problems, but enough that I knew I wanted them out as quick as possible. And I just needed to not be pregnant and breastfeeding for a certain time. And that has always happened really quick for us. Like I'm breastfeeding, I get pregnant, breastfeeding, get pregnant. So I finally had a little gap to get the surgery, and the weaning had to happen. So anyways, I forgot where I was. So, the surgeon only wanted me to drive for six weeks. So I dried up at like 8 weeks prior to surgery just to be safe. And that wasn't too bad. He was 2 months old, which was really heartbreaking to wean him that young. I knew we would relactate, or I had prayed we would relactate, but it was challenging because now at night, I usually nurse my babies all night long throughout the night as they stir. That's how I've always done it. And I couldn't do that with him. So I was having to get up with bottles. And I know some mamas know that, like that have to get up and fix bottles all night for a young one if they're not nursing. And that was challenging. I was like, that gave me even more drive to relactate so I could nurse him through the night after the surgery. So for those 6-8 weeks, we weaned him and had the surgery, which went beautiful. And then my surgeon didn't give me any, like the surgery went fine. I didn't have any incisions through the nipple area. It was all underneath. So there was no reason that there would be pain at the latch site for him. Okay. So I just relatched him the next day. I didn't really know.
Wow.
Some moms that breastfeed through surgery will latch them like hours after surgery, which is, I don't know, with like anesthesia and all. I actually had a very, very mild anesthesia. I had more of a nerve block. So there wasn't like tons of anesthesia in my body still. And I really didn't even have any milk that he was latching to. Mm-hmm. When I say he latched, there probably was like, I could not really express anything in those 6 weeks. I was dry. Like I was testing and making sure I was dry before surgery. Yeah. Like if I could get anything, it was just a tiny drop. So I knew I was pretty much dried up. So after the surgery, I just was like, we just need to get this going again. I want him to relactate. I wasn't in a lot of pain. So I just latched him. And the way I did this is I had it's called the SNS feeding device, supplemental nursing system. And it's like just a straw. It's like 2 attachments. There's a larger straw that goes into a bottle and a skinnier straw that the baby will drink out of. It's, I guess, it's a very small diameter, like the size of what they would get breastfeeding. And it's kind of annoying to like lay this straw. I know y'all and the podcast can't see, but for y'all, I'm giving you a visual. You just kind of lay the straw at your nipple, and baby latches to you and the straw, and they're drinking whatever your like milk or formula, whatever you're feeding them that way. And it worked wonderfully. Like he was still really little. He wasn't wiggly, like pulling cords everywhere. Like I told y'all, my daughter, when I tried to relactate with her, after that first time, she was just wiggly and pulling the straw everywhere. And but with him, he was so young, and he was just happy to probably latch again. And I was worried he wouldn't latch, but it only, like, he was still 4 months old. So he was still very young. We didn't have any problems with him wanting to relatch. Like he still remembered it, I guess. And he just drank the entire bottle right then. And I was like, well, this is going to work. So it was very encouraging the day after surgery to relatch him. We traveled home the day after surgery. I didn't do anything on the way home. That evening is when I latched him when we got back home to our house. And that's just what I continue to do. So I know some mamas will pump. And that's what I had done a lot of research prior to that first time that I wanted to relactate with my third baby. And most of the women, I had read stories of like the formula shortage when that came around. Mamas were like, wow, I just weaned my baby. I don't want to buy this formula. I can't find formula. Let me relactate. So that was most of the stories I read. I think it was around that time when the formula shortage was around. And that was a lot of the mamas' reasons to relactate back then. So they were just a lot of the stories I read. I watched some videos on people talking about relactation. They were just using a pump, and they would pump every like 2 or 3 hours. And initially they would not get anything. And then eventually they would get little drops of milk, and then just slowly build it back up. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with pumping. My body just does not react to pumping. Even when I was like with my first baby, I was back at work and I had plenty of milk for him to drink. But I could not react to a pump. I just didn't react well. Like I know I was producing more than I was getting out. So mamas produce wonderfully with a pump. I have a friend who has twins, and she just produced tons of milk with her pump, fed her twins that way. But I just don't. So I was like, I don't want to, my body's already stressed from this surgery. I don't want to add the stress and the anxiety of trying to pump. So I'm like, I'm just going to let my baby do this and pray that it works. And that his suction, I mean, in my opinion, the baby has a better suction and latch than the pump anyway, at least in my experience. So I know mamas do it with the pump. I strictly did it with my baby, latching, using the SNS device and letting his suction bring back my milk. And initially I would, after he'd eat, I'd test and see if there was any milk, and there was nothing, maybe a drop or two. I think I remember after like 12 to 14 days, I finally got like one little stream of milk. And I was so excited.
That's so exciting. Yeah.
After he would eat or before he'd eat, I was like, let's just see if there's anything in here. Cause I knew he was getting what he needed because he was having it from the supplemental device. I just was wondering if he was getting any breast milk yet. And I didn't mind if I didn't get my full supply back, which I actually didn't. We can talk about that in a minute. I got enough back though that I knew he was getting nutrition from my breast milk. He was getting antibodies we were like right in the fall, winter months, and I really wanted him to have antibodies from breast milk. So I knew that if he was getting something, that was better than nothing. So it was worth all the hassle of the feeding device and all. So that's just the process that I used. I strictly let my baby latch anytime he wanted to eat, which is every 2 to 3 hours at that point. He was still really young. At night, I was initially getting up, fixing his bottle and doing the supplement. But then after probably a month or two, I could just latch him. And there was enough milk that he was satisfied and would go back to sleep. So that was very exciting that I didn't have to continue to get up at night and fix bottles and do the feeding device that way. So at this point, he doesn't nurse all night long now. He's right at 1, but if he needs to latch at night, I can latch him and he's satisfied. There's enough milk for him to go back to sleep. So that's just basically the story of how I did it. That's just the feeding.
Wow.
Tube. That is so awesome. And it's so simple, like latch the baby or pump, either way, just create the suction, right?
Just latch the baby, they're going to get frustrated. So that's why the feeding device helps. I mean, I guess some babies would latch for like comfort. The mine wants something to drink. So I needed, I would try to latch him without the feeding device initially, and he would just get frustrated. So I would have to put that in there along with at the breast and let him suction that way. But then after a while, I could skip a feeding with the feeding tube and just give him a small feeding just with my milk, and it satisfied him. I never have gotten my full supply back, and I think that's probably just because I completely dried up. Then I had a very stressful surgery. And I'm curious to see with future children if I hope I have my full supply back by then with a subsequent child, but I wasn't sure if I would get the full supply back with this baby, just with everything that went on and healing my body and trying to recover from a very not difficult surgery, but having the implants in my body is stressful on your body.
Your surgery was literally in your feeding devices, right?
Right.
Yes.
So it's obviously going to have an effect on them.
Exactly. But I did have enough milk to satisfy him without the feeding device too. So that was just a blessing and just many answered prayers.
That is so interesting.
That's so amazing.
Well, and we were just talking about other options. So Tiffany, being a lactation counselor, knows a little bit more than I do. Although, I've been around the block a couple times as far as lactation goes, but we were talking about other ways we know people have lactated. And so I have a friend that I know lactated. Her first baby was her adopted baby, and she lactated and nursed him, I think, completely, or maybe she had to supplement. I wish I would have talked to her before this episode and just figured out how she did it.
I think that's amazing that mamas will do that when they've never lactated before. Yeah. It's amazing how our bodies can just adapt to what we need them to do.
Yeah. Ammie, did you use any supplements or anything like that?
I did not. I just took the normal supplements I take on the daily, which is beef liver, magnesium. Not anything special, but I know there are supplements you can take to help with relactation. I didn't research into that too much. I just
you didn't have to do
did the latch. I was going to ask you, Tiffany, if you in the lactation consulting, if you ever had a mama who had relactated or came to you for anything like this.
Before, it was probably 2019, early 2020. I had a friend who adopted a baby, a newborn, and we had just kind of talked about it a little bit, but then it went from they don't have the baby to they have the baby full time in a matter of 1 week. So we weren't unfortunately able to like really work on it any more than that. So no, unfortunately, I don't really have like a whole lot of experience or education, you know, like in my training, we may have talked about it, but it's not something that I really remember talking about, you know?
Yeah.
So for an adoptive mama, would she want to start like well before she got the baby taking like some sort of supplement or just?
I mean, I think ideally that's what you want to do. Like if you have some sort of notice that you're going to be adopting and getting a baby, like in the littlest tiny bit of research that I've done, and I'm sure there are people who like lie outside of this like normal, right? But I think for a lot of moms, they do have to use hormones to try to like mimic the body being pregnant.
Okay.
Well, and I would think that would be more helpful in like moms who haven't lactated before at all.
Correct. Yeah. So I know like with moms who have lactated before, I think for them, it's always a little bit easier because your body has like done that. So it understands and it knows what to do. I feel like it's really similar to labor, you know, like once you've been through labor and had a baby, like your body just knows right back, you know, knows what to do. It's the same with lactation. So I think if your body has never done it before, it does make it a little bit easier to like mimic the pregnancy and then do that. But again, you usually have to do that by like artificial hormones, which I mean, from what the research that I've done is like typically some sort of birth control and then some type of typically like medication that can help kind of like kickstart your supply. I know like Reglan is a common one in the United States. There's another one like that's not legal in Illinois, in the United States, but you can get it from like Canada that people use as well. And then there are lots of supplements that you can use too.
Well, and I have a cousin too who used a heartburn med that had a side effect of lactating.
That's Reglan.
Is that Reglan? Okay. I wasn't sure if they were the same. I didn't know the name of what she used. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what it is because that is a side effect of that medication.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like I said, there are lots of supplements that you can use too, like moringa, goat's rue, things like that are very common.
Hey everyone, Rachel Manns here, and today I have something I'm thrilled to share with you guys. Imagine having a treasure trove of informative, entertaining, and empowering video content about the journey to parenthood right at your fingertips. That's exactly what you get with Informed Pregnancy Plus. For less than 25 cents a day, that's a quarter, guys, you'll gain access to a vast subscription library filled with documentary films, web series, mind and body fitness programs, workshops, and courses covering fertility to parenting and everything in between. Designed for new and expectant parents, as well as pregnancy and birth professionals, Informed Pregnancy Plus is like having a trusted BFF and doctor in one, guiding you through every step of the path to and through parenthood. A few of just my favorite titles are obviously The Business of Being Born, Empowered Mama, Belly Dance for Birth, how fun is that? Ease into Sleep, the Afterbirth Plan, and the Core Connection, an extremely well-presented and informative workshop teaching you about your core and pelvic floor and how to keep them healthy. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can gain full access absolutely free. Just visit informedpregnancy.tv to sign up. Sign up for Informed Pregnancy Plus right now. I'm not kidding, guys. It's really going to help you out. It's my prescription for your informed and empowered parenting journey, all from the comfort of your home. Visit informedpregnancy.tv. That's informedpregnancy.tv, and the link will be in the description below. Now back to the show.
You asked me if I did any supplements. I did have some moringa, like it was like a matcha moringa mix.
Yeah.
And I do remember that talking when I'd already been taking it, but then I remember I'd taken it through pregnancy and just for general health. And then I remember reading that it helped with relactation or lactating.
Yeah.
So
lactating in general.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Moringa is really great. Goat's rue is really great, specifically if you have like some hormonal issues like PCOS or insulin resistance, thyroid issues. It really helps with that. Okay. That's one that I will recommend from time to time too for my moms that I work with like low supply.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe after this episode, you'll be getting more moms who want to relactate.
I know, like seriously, DM me. Like I want to learn more about it too. Like, or if any moms are listening who have relactated, especially like moms who had never lactated before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool because I mean, I feel like we have the most, you know, I would be able to get the most education from those women, not just like a textbook or, you know, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to have to ask my friend how she did it. Because I know she did it, but I wish I would have asked her before this episode. I don't know what I was thinking or wasn't thinking, I guess. I'm tired.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So cool. It's so interesting how our bodies work and like how, I mean, they're just so smart, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like relactating for you, Ammie, yes, you had to use a supplemental nursing system, but it's pretty simple. Like
it was, yes.
Relatching with the system, or a lot of moms pumping. I mean, I guess, I don't know. You think about relactation and you think it's going to be so much work, and not that those things are not work, but you'd be doing those things anyway for nursing or pumping or whatever. So and that's all it takes. And your body just knows, hey, regularly your nipples are being stimulated. Like you should start to produce something. I don't know. That's so crazy. That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I was going to add out, there was such a short time from when my baby was weaned. I think that made it easier. I know the like for mamas that might have been weaned for like a year, it might take a little longer for you to start see a little milk. It took me about 2.5 weeks to see a little, very little milk. So it could, I read stories when I was researching on this, some women it took a month, some women it only took a week. So it's totally like dependent on, I guess, your body and your natural supply and how quickly that would come back. But mine did come back pretty quickly. Not, like I told you, not fully, but it did come back enough to satisfy my baby the night, which is all I was really worried about, is getting him to latch at night and nurse through the night. So that was, but it came back quicker, I think, because there was such a short 6-8 week time span that he wasn't latching when he weaned.
It's good to know that it still took you 2 weeks though.
Yeah, it wasn't immediate. It wasn't like immediately.
So mom shouldn't expect an immediate turnaround. It takes time. You have to pump a while. So you're going to have to put some work into it. But if that means you can sideline nurse your baby in the middle of the night instead of having to get up and get out of bed, that is totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah. Fun fact. There is an IBCLC who is really well known in the Re-Lactation community space, whatever. Her name is Alyssa Schnell, and she's from St. Louis.
I know that name. Yeah, I've referred to Alyssa before.
Yeah, so a lot of like the research and I'm pretty sure she has like a book about it, like breastfeeding without birthing, I think is what it's called. Yeah, so she's like, I think like the top person. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's so cool.
And for those of you that don't know, Rachel and I live in Illinois, close to St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm technically a suburb of St. Louis where I live. So
I'm not. I'm way further out, but yeah.
We go to St. Louis a lot. That's so interesting. I didn't know that about Alyssa.
Yep. I'm pretty sure she lives in like up near St. Charles. I could be totally wrong, but somewhere in St. Louis. Yeah.
So that's so cool. We might have to reach out to her. Another fun fact, and I don't know where I heard this initially, but I just popped into my head as we were talking about this. So of course I had to pull it up on Google really quickly. In some Middle Eastern and Asian cultures, grandmothers will relactate to nurse their grandbabies.
Yes. Whenever we were planning to relactate, my husband sent me this funny, it wasn't funny, but it was ironic that he sent me this like post about a grandmother relactating in an Asian country. He was like, this is going to be you or something. He was like, maybe you should ask your mom to relactate. I was like, I don't think so. But he had sent me that like right before my surgery. He was like, there's hope. I think you're going to be able to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If grandmas can relactate literally like 20 years later.
Yeah.
That's
so crazy. So cool.
Okay. And so I don't know, is there anything else we need to add? I mean, I think when we were thinking, or when you think about relactation, like I said, you think it's going to be really intricate and you have to follow all these steps and you have to do all these things, but really it's quite simple and it just requires a little bit of patience.
Yeah. You just need to like supply and demand from your body that you need milk, and it will supply for the most part. I mean, it did for me. So that was just such a blessing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you already did this because your baby was like really, really young, but definitely like if you're thinking about relactating or you are currently like attempting to do that, obviously supply and demand, right? Like put your baby to breast as much as possible, skin to skin, keeping your baby close, like all of those things. Every time that baby is near the breast, the baby is going to want to nurse more. And again, supply and demand, like the more you nurse your baby, the more milk that you're going to make. I mean, the more you're telling your body that you need milk. So,
well, and it's the same idea with a mom whose milk supply is low because she's using a pacifier instead of nursing, or because she's, trying to pump fewer times than her baby would actually latch or something like that. I've been guilty of both of those, so I can say those things with my first baby. You don't know.
Me too. And I do hear people say all the time, like, my baby's using me as a pacifier. And it's like, well, moms are the OG pacifier.
Exactly.
And like that's like the point of our bodies, right? Like to nourish our babies. So your baby wants to nurse all the time for good reason, because they want to stay alive.
Yeah. And they just love being close to you, and they're getting all the good things from your body. Like you said, Ammie, with all the good bacteria and the antibodies and just everything like that. It's so important. I mean, I don't really have anything else. I just think it's so interesting and it's so exciting, and it's really exciting and funny to me that we were able to talk about that so quickly, because it's actually quite simple. That's like the third time I've said that at this point.
It seems so. I was so intimidated by it, but once we actually started the process and I just latched in with the supplemental system, it was actually really easy.
That's awesome.
So awesome.
Well, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
I don't
think so.
Okay. Well, if you want to follow Ammie's explant story, which was just so interesting and eye-opening to me, and I just thought it was amazing. And I love how transparent you were about that whole thing. I think it probably really was a big blessing for a lot of people who just didn't know.
I have a lot of people that have reached out and told me they were going to explant, or some women never were going to get their implants in the first place after they saw it. So it was a huge blessing to share that story and encourage.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I hate that you had to go through it, but God uses all of those things for such a reason, right? Yep. So I'm going to definitely link your YouTube channel in the description below. I will probably put a link for the supplemental nursing system as well. As long as I remember come editing, guys. I mean,
I sent you the link to Alyssa's website too.
Oh, perfect. So we'll add that in there.
Yep.
All right.
Yay! The one I use is the Haka brand. So like they have the Haka like suction, but the supplemental device was also a Haka. It was like the least expensive one. Yeah, the most budget friendly one. There were some more expensive ones I saw, but this was just a simple one from Haka on Amazon.
Nice. Well, and Haka makes quality products. I've definitely used their products. So. Okay. So listeners, if you have any questions, if you have any stories, we would absolutely love to hear those, because we could share them on a future episode, or just, be excited with you. Definitely message us. You can email us at contact@thenaturalbirthsite.com. You can also message our social media at the Natural Birth Site. But to be honest, Tiffany and I don't really use it very often.
I know, we're really bad about it.
We've kind of started ignoring it because it just takes a lot of brain space. But we are happy to take any comments or questions or stories. Absolutely. So,
Thank you so much, Ammie.
Thank you for having me and letting me share my story.
Thank you. I'm so glad we were able to work this out. We were supposed to record this like a couple weeks ago, and things just kept getting in the way. So we got it. We got it finally. So
got it done.
All right, listeners. We will talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Rachel Manns again. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to and rate this podcast, and head over to thenaturalbirthsite.com to check out our online natural birth education course, birth story blog, YouTube channel, and more.